somebody who would definitely be able to help us in this conversation is market analyst at Commsec. He's got a fierce beard. You might have recognised this man's face from your telly.
Everybody can, you can actually be named on our phone box, and we've got him as Hot Beard Money Guy.
We are talking about Tom Piotrowski joining us from Commsec. Hello, Tom.
Stacey and Christy, how are you?
Hey, friend.
We're good, Tom. We're good. How are you?
Look really well.
We do actually want to talk to you about numbers because, young mate, you kind of have a bit of an insight as to savings, particularly for chicks through your 20s, and the relationship, as I suppose, when you began to think about money as a kid.
I wasn't too bad as a kid with saving, Tom. Like my mum worked in a bank for about 25 years, so we always.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, from the time we were born, we already had the Dolomite savings account, and we had the little piggy banks ready to go, and pocket money, and learning the value of $1. And because that's just so innate in me, I was talking to a mate recently who has just had a couple of kids herself. And anyway, she said, I had this conversation with my mum the other day, and I said to my mum, I'm so pissed off at you, mum, that you never taught me about money. Because she said, I find myself in my 30s really never learning that and never learning the basics and still struggling now as an adult.
You know, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, parents are so important as far as, you know, teaching us about everything that we know from an early age, and included in those lessons is our attitude towards money. So I was the same as you. My parents were instrumental in that sort of behaviour. And once I got onto the idea that you can make money, I was pretty keen on that.
So, Tom, can you take us through if you know you do grow up in a household or a place where those kind of values aren't instilled from a young age? How are you now as an adult or Gen Y or whatever actually getting into the market of saving and really teaching yourself about money? Do you have a few tips for people that, I don't know, might be feeling that way?
Look, what I think is really hard for young people now is they can be quite overwhelmed when they think about things like, you know, buying a home, saving a decent amount of money for buying a car or something like that. Because if you just have your money sitting in a bank account now, it's probably one of the worst times in, you know, recent history to be doing that because interest rates are so low. Right? So basically, it is very difficult to get ahead by just putting money aside. It's important to develop the discipline of doing that, even if it's just, you know, a relatively small amount. Just the idea that you are putting some money away where you're not going to touch it for a period of time is something that you need to get into your thinking. Another thing that I think is really important, and anyone who talks about this sort of subject will agree, is like keep away from credit cards. Right? If you're going to have a credit card, just make sure that you knock the balance on its head every month so that you don't have that getting out of control, because that is just dead money out the door. And I think another thing that's really important at an early age is just to get friendly with the idea of investing, because it's a long-term story. You often hear about how challenging it can be to make money as an investor, but what makes it a lot easier is when you make good decisions over a long period of time. So, you know, if you start doing that when you're a young person, then, you know, by the time you get to that point where you're thinking about putting a deposit on a house, you know, hopefully
you could take some out.
Yeah.
Precisely. When I started working, interest rates were like 20%.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because we wouldn't have known that I wouldn't have known that in my headspace of money. But it's interesting because I realise now that even having a little bit in the green is better than nothing. And then it does start to evolve if you think of it rather than putting it in the too hard basket or going, well, when I earn more money later or when this happens later, you actually can make little shifts here and there, even if it's like a second coffee, you know, like
every
those
bit
types
counts.
of things. Yeah, so even having a little bit extra is you could kind of start building all of these things that Tom has spoken about.
Yeah, it's such good advice, Tom. I really appreciate your advice, especially on a Friday Arvo. We might continue to see your face, market analyst at Commsec. Thanks so much, Tom.
Have a good night, girls.
It's a Thinker Girls on Kiss.